What's up, wrestling fans? It's our last episode before WrestleMania, and we give you our predictions for what happens on the grandest stage of them all. And stay tuned for an exclusive interview with Hot Fire Myron Reed as he gives us a preview of his brand new single, Barely Livin'. Here we go.
You are now listening to STF Underground, bringing you the latest news, exclusive interviews, and talking good old pro wrestling. And now, your host, Doug E. Wrestling.
What's up, wrestling fans, and welcome back to another episode of STF Underground. This is episode 9 of STF Underground. I am Doug E. Wrestling. You can follow me on Twitter at Doug, the letter E, Wrestling. And it is WrestleMania week. Oh my God, we have made it. It is the week where we're going to get a ton of wrestling, and we have a lot of things to go through with you, including our WrestleMania predictions that we'll get to later on. We've got a lot of stuff coming up this week, including NXT TakeOver. We've got the G1 Supercard, and of course, WrestleMania on Sunday. Make sure that you guys follow along on ProWrestling.com. We're going to have live coverage there. Myself personally will be providing live coverage for all three of those shows. ProWrestling.com is also where you can find us dropping every single Tuesday night. First, every single week on ProWrestling.com. And then we drop every single Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere where you can find. Make sure that you guys subscribe. Make sure that you guys find us and leave us a rating. We love those 5-star ratings. You can also find this episode and previews complete on YouTube. So make sure that you guys find our channel there. You can find some clips, exclusive interviews, previews like I mentioned. And this entire episode will be available on YouTube as well. If you guys want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at STF Underground. You can follow us on Facebook, STF Underground Podcast. We're constantly posting. We're constantly doing giveaways, including one that we tried to do a couple weeks ago, but unfortunately we weren't able to get a hold of the winner. So we're going to draw another winner right now. So hopefully you're listening to this episode. Noel Ayala. If you're hearing your name right now, make sure that you contact us on Facebook. Send us a message. We'll get your contact information and send you out your WWE exclusive collectible figure. Again, make sure that you guys subscribe and like our posts on Twitter and Instagram. The contest is still going, but it is close to ending to be able to send out some more collectible figures. Make sure that you guys do that soon. Let's hop into some of the top news of the week, starting with the news about Goldust. Goldust was heavily rumored after last week's Road to Double or Nothing to be heading over to AEW and that his contract was going to be ending. Goldust quickly put a kibosh on those rumors as he trashed the smart fans, saying that he's still under contract with the WWE and everything that's being said online is just talk, and then he hates smart marks. So we don't know if this is true or if he's just covering or whatever it might be. But as of right now, according to Dustin, he is not leaving the WWE and he is sticking around with the WWE for the foreseeable future. Next up, the Tommaso Ciampa tweet that came out talking about his history with his knees and his surgeries, and mentioned that the doctors told him that he wouldn't be able to compete at a high level after his 2 knee surgeries. He came back and had arguably the best run of his entire career. Now that he's had neck surgery, the doctors have told him something very similar and have told him that he has been now on borrowed time, which is not a good thing to hear as a wrestler. It's something that was said to Edge previously, who we know how that ended, not too long after he was told that he had to retire after what it looks to be a similar surgery for Tommaso Ciampa. We shall see, and we wish him a speedy recovery. He is a Chicago guy. He's a guy that we've seen very locally, very much. So again, speedy recovery. We wish him the best. Chris Jericho is allegedly banned from the WWE. In a recent interview, he said that after the move to AEW, he spoke with Vince McMahon a couple times, but he's kind of public enemy number 1. He's been removed from their annals of history, so to speak. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, especially now because he's in AEW. He wasn't being able to be put on a podcast. They removed some things of him on the WWE Network. He hasn't been disgraced as far as he knows, but yeah, they are definitely not going to be promoting him much going on here forward. Continuing with outside of WWE news, one of the things that we saw this week is we have 2 new big free agents that were announced. One, Joey Ryan finally got released from his Lucha Underground contract, and he is officially a free agent. He has been heavily linked with the guys from AEW, specifically the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, who have saved him multiple times at indie shows. Now he is a free agent, so it wouldn't be shocking much at all if Joey Ryan did go to AEW, especially with what happened with him and Hangman Page in the past. The other person that did get announced as a free agent is Tenille Dashwood, formerly known as WWE's Emma. Dashwood would supply some star power to AEW as far as in the women's division, give them somebody that people might know already, although they do have an already stacked roster on the women's side with Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, Allie, Kylie Ray, and the others that are there too. We got another name announced to be inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame that will take place this Saturday live on the WWE Network, and that is Brutus the Barber Beefcake is joining the Hall of Fame class of 2019. He's going to be joining Sue Aitchison, which is going to be taking the Warrior Award, the Honky Tonk Man, Torrie Wilson, Harlem Heat, the Hart Foundation, and of course, D-Generation X, involving everybody from Shawn Michaels, Triple H, the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, and Chyna. There are several reports that SmackDown Live could be moving to 3 hours in the fall. The Wrestling Observer reported that once SmackDown does go to Fox starting in the fall, that we could see a 3-hour show to be able to bring in more revenue, especially with Fox Sports 1 losing the UFC. It could be another way to generate revenue to be able to match SmackDown, which could turn into WWE's flagship show with Monday Night Raw. Lastly, on the news front, in case you missed it, John Oliver had a segment talking about the WWE. He famously, a couple months ago, started to talk about the WWE going into Saudi Arabia. This time, the segment started a little bit lighter, but ended up pretty heavy, digging into Vince McMahon. Oliver either has really great reporters and people doing research for him, or he's a legit fan. He talked about a lot of history with the WWE, but then started talking about the deaths in the WWE, talked about Vince McMahon and how he could be directly responsible for the deaths in WWE. Obviously, with WrestleMania coming up, this is a chance for John Oliver to gain some notoriety, which he definitely did. A lot of people reacted to this, including CM Punk, who loved the segment, Jim Cornette, who talked about how this might be the most truthful segment about wrestling in decades, and then the WWE, who ended up inviting Oliver to WrestleMania this coming Sunday. Either way, it brings publicity to the WWE, especially with WrestleMania coming up here this Sunday. If you guys haven't watched it, make sure that you guys go take a look. There's a lot of things on there. Some fair, some unfair. Personally, I'm not a big fan of him bringing up a lot of these deaths that some of them are irrelevant at this point, and really the WWE has changed quite a bit over the last couple of years. Not to be a WWE apologist, but then you also have some of the most bitter wrestling superstars in the last couple of decades to talk about it, including bringing up stuff about CM Punk, Bret Hart, those kind of things. It's a little bit biased, the whole segment, but overall extremely entertaining and worth a watch. All right, so we all know that this weekend is the biggest event of the year in WWE. It is WrestleMania, and this show, provided that we can agree and disagree on all of the things that we're going to be talking about, we are going to have a 3-man panel of myself. We've got Fox and Orion joining us, and Mr. Main Event. Say what's up, gentlemen.
What's going on? It's a triple threat. You got to have your head on a swivel, Moggle.
Yes, swiggle moggle indeed.
So what we'll be doing during this episode and during this segment here is we're going to be running down every single match. Make sure that you guys get out your score sheets if you guys are going to place bets at the casino or whatever you guys are going to do. If you guys want to follow along with the matches going along here, these are going to be some of the predictions, and we're just going to hop right in. So the first thing of what we're going to discuss is which match should be starting the show. So Fox, I'm going to kick it to you. Which match do you think should be starting the show? And we're talking the main show, obviously, not the pre-show. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the opener should be a hot opener. You got to remember that people are still filing into the stands and whatnot. But I have Miz and Shane in the Falls Count Anywhere starting the match off. I think that's a high energy match that could really get the crowd going right off the bat.
Yeah, not a bad pick for sure. Myself, I actually see something super hot and super exciting happening pretty much right away. Fox, you and I discussed this previously. I think that the show starts off Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, and we'll talk about our predictions for that. But I think that the WWE Championship is going to be defended to start the show. What about you, Mr. Main Event?
I went back and forth between a championship match, either the Brock Lesnar Seth Rollins or the Kofi Daniel Bryan match. But I'm also in the idea here that you should start out hot, and I don't think anything could be hotter than Roman versus Drew right now. Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. I mean, obviously, Roman is Roman. I mean, he's going to get cheered. It's WrestleMania. I think that would be a good one.
I think something to point out is that traditionally in a lot of these WrestleMania matches, we see a lot of the stipulations to start the show, particularly ladder matches, multi-man ladder matches, something big that starts the show. We're not seeing that this show. I mean, there's really no ladder matches. There's a bunch of stipulations, no DQs, but we're not seeing a lot of the, big ladder matches that normally would take place.
Yeah, I think that's where my thinking was with the Falls Count Anywhere. It's something that's a little gimmicky, not something that a championship changes hands if, like I said, folks are still getting to their seats. I've been to a couple WrestleManias, and I know that the lines can be really long, and if it's not, super organized, it could take some time to get to your seats if you're not there. And the order, I think WrestleMania openers are a bit of a badge of honor, I think. It's not like, oh, well, this is the worst match, it's going to start first. I mean, I remember AJ versus Shane was the opener 2 years ago, and that was an awesome match.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of promoters about this, and they always say that having if you're not the main event, a lot of times for most wrestlers, you want to be first. You want to kick off the show, you want to be remembered right away, and that's really setting the tone for the show.
Yeah, and remember, it's 6 hours plus. Folks have been there for the pre-show as well, so your job is to carry that momentum for the rest of at least for a good portion of the show.
So likely kicking off the show as well, maybe, to start the show off or right after the first match going in there. We have the host, Alexa Bliss, who has been making matches and, doing a lot of commissioner-ish type things. Mr. Main Event, do you see anything happening with Alexa Bliss during the show?
I don't know. To me, it's kind of, what does a host really do? I was trying to think back, and one thing that came to mind was the New Day a couple years ago when the Hardys were there. I don't see anything that exciting happening with Alexa Bliss being there. I don't know. I'm just indifferent to it, I guess.
Maybe we can get another kind of Hulk Hogan moment with him talking about the Silver Dome.
God, I think Alexa is just she's a great personality to keep the show moving. I think, it's going to be introducing maybe a musical guest, or I think she's going to be more involved in the backstage. I guarantee you it's going to be some segment with her and some legends in the back, some, Ron Simmons, damn, kind of moments, in the bay, right? Like that's kind of what the host does. The host isn't usually out in the ring calling the matches, but you're absolutely right that she's been doing some kind of commissionery things where it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to put you in a match or something like that. So I see maybe something, but I don't see her in a full-fledged angle.
Yeah, and I think that, we could talk about a little more of within the predictions later how she might get involved in a match. But you mentioned musical act, and we know that the musical act for WrestleMania is going to be Elias. I think that this personally screams someone running out and obviously interrupting him, because that's what happens to Elias. If I had to pick somebody personally, I'd say Kevin Owens. He's not really doing anything this show. They brought him back. He wrestled in the main event, at Fastlane for the WWE Championship, and ever since then, he's really been doing nothing. So I think that they have to give him something. Put me down for Kevin Owens taking out Elias. MMA?
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Limp Bizkit, so...
Secret
Hey,
character
man.
in
Keep
SmackDown,
rolling.
just bring it, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, hopefully it's entertaining. I'm guessing he's not just going to be singing actual songs. So, yeah, I'm with you. Let's see somebody else comes out, somebody do something, and hopefully it's entertaining.
What about you, Foxy?
Yeah, I don't think, I think that the payoff has to be a little bit bigger than a regular, not to say anything bad about Kevin Owens, but he is part of the main roster. I see a legend coming out, but it's also one of those things where a legend can come out, but is it worth their time? It's not like Elias is drawing like nuclear heat. It's not like people are itching for The Rock to come out or something like that. But I mean, for me, I think it would be really great to see The Rock come out. So I'm going to go big on the prediction. I'm going to just say that, someone like The Rock, comes out and interrupts him for an entertaining segment.
So let's talk about, what some of the predictions going into the matches here. The first match we have down as our first prediction is the Women's Battle Royal. So people that are participating in this Battle Royal, we've got the likes of the former SmackDown Women's Champion, Asuka, sorry, Fox, Carmella, Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Nikki Cross, Dana Brooke, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Mickie James, Zelina Vega. Mr. Main Event, who do you think throws everybody over and takes that one?
You had to start with me on this one. I don't think it matters at all. I'm going with Nikki Cross to win it, and nothing will come out of it. I don't know. It's not starting off strong if you're if you're thinking that this is going to be something that's important to me. I mean, if the men's Andre thing, another thing I don't think is important, it doesn't matter. This to me doesn't matter either. But I'll just take Nikki Cross because I like Nikki Cross.
Fox?
So initially, I obviously had Asuka. I was like, okay, well, I like it. Putting aside the fact that I like Asuka, and it's no secret, but I just thought that coming off of being the champion, she should have some moment on the show. But the more that I thought about it, I don't know if she's been announced for it, but because Asuka kind of had her moment in the sun here on SmackDown tonight, I really see it as something like a Lacey Evans. Call me crazy, but I can see her just coming out and waltzing around the ring and like nobody really knows what she does. And then she gets in and throws someone over. And I know that they have plans to push her post WrestleMania. So I'm going to actually go with Lacey Evans here.
Fox, you stole my pick.
I'm sorry, and I know I threw a curveball at you, but that's what you get for giving me crap about Asuka, because you just were dying to dig in on me on this one, so I don't feel too bad.
I kind of went back and forth too. My first thought was Asuka, that she deserved her redemption. The more I thought about it too, the more I thought, like you said, she had her moment in the sun. She had her moment to shine in this weird match that was featured on SmackDown. Then my thought went to Dana Brooke, who needs some redemption too. Other than that, I thought maybe Ruby Riott, because I would love to see Ruby Riott finally get her moment that she really deserves. And obviously we all know she's incredible. She's a great person that is an underrated women's wrestler and has kind of been getting the shaft, especially since Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey have been in the spotlight. But like you said, Lacey Evans, someone that they're trying to push, someone who is going to have that sort of distraction, and she's going to be the one, in my opinion, that ends up standing tall. Anyone else want to add anything to that one?
Just for the record, in addition to Nikki Cross in my notes, I also wrote Lacey, so we're all three on the same page on that one.
It's going to be some shenanigans. Like, someone's going to, look good, like, kind of be the iron, the person in there the longest, and then it's just going to be, Lacey coming in for a moment or someone like that, just dumping over the last person.
So next up we have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with tons and tons of people. The The main feud that's going on in here, I guess if you want to call it that, is Braun Strowman, Colin Jost, and Michael Shea. Very disappointing guys from SNL coming in to feud with Braun Strowman. Other than that, we have Andrade, Apollo Crews, Titus O'Neil, Tyler Breeze. I mean, the list goes on and on and on as far as who's in there. Other people that, are surprisingly in there and should be part of, in my opinion, later matches in the show, Matt and Jeff Hardy. We've got the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, who this could be their final match in the company. Fox, who do you got taking the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and that big, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that trophy looked a little toyish this time around on Raw.
Oh, it looked like it was made of mustard, didn't it? I was like, that's not even bronze. That's mustard. It looked ugly. I don't want that thing. I don't want to lug that around. And it was funny. You look at the names on this list, and I literally felt like I needed like a wheel of fortune, kind of just spin the wheel and whatever it lands on. I was pretty high on Apollo Crews. They seem to have been giving him a little bit of a push with just being like Kurt Angle's like biggest fanboy. But then he had his moment on Raw. So I'm going with Andrade. I think that he has been criminally underused since his feud with Rey Mysterio. I thought for sure he would be on the main card in a feature match. So he's been kind of low key. So I definitely think that this kind of kickstarts a renewed push.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, to be honest with you, just because as far as Andrade goes, I mean, we've seen great things from him, but Mr. Main Event, who do you have for this one?
Well, I think Braun Strowman and Colin Jost, Michael Che are all going to kind of, I don't want to say eliminate each other, but something that they're going to do might get Braun out of there. And with that being said, I got to go with my guy EC3, because they got to give him something at some point, right? And
he is in the top 1%.
That's true. And you know what? He needs something. Why not give him a trophy to walk around with? I do have one more name, but I'm interested to hear who your pick is, Doug.
So I like EC3. I like Andrade. I really hope that they're not going to do this whole thing that people are calling for, like bringing in Nicholas to help Braun Strowman, because that would really hurt me.
Nobody's claiming that. Anybody who's claiming that, our buddy Kareem is listening. I know he put that out there in the universe. But you know what? Look, this isn't like this is for a title shot or something. So my initial thought is like, oh my God, this is like the darkest timeline of wrestling. But I'm also like, yeah, it'd kind of be funny. At least it's kind of.
What if he's on the gas? What if he's been on the gas all year and Nicholas is just huge now?
Huge growth spurt.
And he's just ripped.
So my pick, and I think it's his time, guys. I really think it's his time to end the streak. Kurt Hawkins is going to take this one.
Wow.
That's actually a great pick, but I guess in my mind I thought he would do it with Ryder, but I think that's a great pick.
I mean, it's a win without having that win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good solid pick there. I had one other name that kind of stuck out to me. It wasn't on the list that we have here in front of us, but it's someone who's been getting some TV time. It's someone who's actually won the Andre Memorial before. What about Mojo Rawley?
Say Mojo Rawley.
Oh, God, just get it in there. Oh, I can see Doug just squirming in his chair.
I don't want him to win.
Man.
He's about to quit this podcast. We're not going to make it to 10 episodes.
Let the record show I do not want him to win, but there's got to be a reason he's been on TV, right?
Hey, while we're at it, let's just have Gronkowski win this.
Yeah, seriously. Or let's have Sunil sing.
Let's just dial this up to a 12 and have Gronk win.
God, why would you put that out in the world? I would rather have Nicholas than Mojo Rawley.
Have them be the final two. You know what? It's absurd as it is. Let's just have them be the final two.
Well, this was a fun way to be on my last ever podcast, guys. It's been fun.
Credibility has gone down the toilet.
So up next, after that whole debacle, the WWE Cruiserweight Championship will be on the line. Buddy Murphy will be defending his championship against Tony Nese. Personally, I want to see Buddy Murphy continue to take it. I don't think that Tony Nese is quite there, has the charisma. He's got the look. He's got a great moveset. Don't get me wrong. I actually do like Tony Nese, but I'm not a fan of his charisma. I don't see him as carrying the championship, while Buddy Murphy has definitely been doing wonders for that belt. Mr. Main Event, what are your thoughts?
Well, hopefully this match is before noon. I don't really care to watch it. Buddy Murphy looks kind of like Kurt Hawkins, so I'll go with him. It's really, I mean, I haven't watched 205 live in a long time, so it's unfair for me to even pick, I guess. But I like when champions hold on to their titles, so I'll go with Buddy Murphy.
What about you, Foxy?
Yeah, I got Buddy retaining. I actually wasn't super familiar with him for a long time, and actually went back and over the past several months went back to seeing his entire title reign. And God, he's just awesome to watch in the ring. So I genuinely root for the guy. Everything he does looks so crisp, and so yeah, I'd love to see him continue to keep that going and continue to keep breaking records along the way.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I really hope that he does win and then somebody comes out to start a brand new feud with him that can gain some notoriety. I'm not sure who that might be, but I really hope that continues and gets more eyes on 205 Live, because they're quietly one of the best shows on, WWE's, I guess, TV,
like
the network, whatever you want to call it.
It's like the consistency of NXT, just on a smaller scale.
Correct.
I consider WrestleMania to be kind of the New Year's Eve of the wrestling year for the WWE. So my resolution after WrestleMania will be to watch some more 205 Live this year.
That's a great resolution.
And hopefully Mojo Rawley's on it.
I'm going to edit that out. The next match here, it was announced on SmackDown Live. We have the Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, with the Usos defending against The Bar, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet and Aleister Black. It was announced by Alexa Bliss as kind of punishment for the Usos forfeiting against Kofi Kingston last week. What do you got, MMA? Who do you think is going to be taking the Tag Team Championships home on SmackDown?
Well, I kind of like the Usos retaining, just because none of the other tag teams really stick out to me. I guess Rusev and Nakamura would be my favorite tag team, but I'd keep it on the Usos for now until something better comes along.
What do you got, Foxy?
Yeah, I'm all about the penitentiary, so I think the Usos keep it here. Although, for some reason, I saw that Ricochet and Aleister Black were in this match, and then they're also going for the NXT tag titles on Friday. And then, am I crazy? I thought they were going against the Revival, but I guess they just decided to do that on Raw. Is that correct?
Well, I thought that was going to be a match.
I literally thought they were going for
into
all three tag titles. At WrestleMania.
It was heavily rumored that they would be going in a rematch since the Revival stole it from them, but now I guess the Revival aren't going to have a match at WrestleMania. They're not announced for anything, which is just ridiculous, and I'm glad that they've been pretty vocal on Twitter as far as, not getting real opportunities. They essentially have the belts on them, and they're not doing anything.
They got the win short term, but then long term they're getting the shaft, and that's just kind of the WWE way. It's not the first time that's happened to somebody, but anyway, I've got the Usos. I think that depending on the brand shakeup afterwards, it'd be cool to see the Usos versus Ricochet and Aleister Black on SmackDown. I think that would be a really cool feud to watch.
Yeah, and I'll say the same. We got a clean sweep for the Usos here. The Usos make the most sense, especially with the potentially upcoming brand reorganization, superstar shakeup, whatever you want to call it. I think the Usos are great to be able to hold that. They're kind of in the midway of they're baby faces, but they also are kind of heels because they're kind of jerks in the way that they do it. So I think that they can really go either way and take on whoever ends up on their show. Next up, we have The Miz against Shane McMahon in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This one has gotten personal. Personally, I have The Miz going over Shane McMahon. It's a redemption story. It's something where The Miz has to be able to take on and take over and go over on Shane McMahon, especially because right now they're promoting Miz and Mrs., which, by the way, is starting to re-air tonight. I know my fiance is going to get in trouble because it's our show, and we're going to watch that tomorrow because it's actually a really good show. But anyway, Miz and Mrs. Just came back on, and I think that it's going to be their way to promote it and get Miz back over and with the crowd. Mr. Main Event, what do you got?
Are we sponsored by that show? Is that why you love this show so much?
It is a really good show. You should watch it.
I will not. Yeah, I'll watch it after I watch 205 Live.
Perfect.
I'd actually I like Miz to win this match. Anything to get Shane McMahon out of there. I don't think he should be wrestling on any show. I'd love to see a run-in by a helicopter. I don't think it'll happen. Miz wins.
I've just the fact that it's not the first time that folks have said, hey, Shane is a little OP'd and should be off the television screen. I've got Shane winning. I think that he's just made his turn as a heel. To me, it's not a very effective turn. Doug, you and I have talked about this, but I think Miz lets his emotions get the better of him. I think that's going to be his downfall. That's the story they're going to tell. He's going to try to pull a Shane McMahon, maybe try to jump off of something, and it's going to cost him. So I've got Shane going over.
I mean, if we're making ridiculous predictions like the helicopter run-in, I'd love to see the Miz's dad, Mr. Miz, come in and low blow the Miz and say, "I've never been proud of you," and Shane's my new son, or something like that.
That's great.
Jesus.
Next up, we've got the Intercontinental Championship match. We've got Bobby Lashley. I forget.
Damn.
Wow.
Who's in this match?
I think it's Bobby Lashley. I don't even know who the champion is anymore because it just keeps...
I mean, judging from the last 6 weeks, it may as well be Lio Rush.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
I got you, buddy.
Is Bobby Lashley defending his championship against the Demon, Finn Balor. Can I just, before I ask you, Fox, can I just express my disappointment for the Demon Balor coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Hey, did you groan when he stuck his tongue out on Ron? He was like,
"Yeah, what was about that whole?
What was that? Who told him that was a good idea?" He was just like, "Wah."
Yeah,
what?
That was horrible.
What is this?
So, Fox, who do you got winning that match?
Who do I got Lashley winning, man. I think that's going against the grain because it's assumed that the Demon wins every time. But I think Lashley wins. I think that I don't know, shenanigans or whatnot. They haven't really given me a reason to care, but I kind of want. I'm going for Lashley just based on that, sticking his tongue out and the Demon looking silly.
I know Mr. Main Event is a huge Lashley mark, so who do you pick, Mr. Main Event?
Fox is a smart man. I also have Bobby Lashley.
Finally, getting the credit that I always understood that I should get.
But there's one thing that I think is going to happen. I think Lashley is going to come out in his own demon garb, and we will see Demon Lashley defeat Demon Balor.
Wow, that would be hilarious.
I need to be booking this.
I'm going to take Finn Balor on this one. I think he's the obvious win to me. Demon Balor has never lost. I don't think this is the opportunity for him to lose. I think, to be honest with you, in the way of shenanigans like Fox said, I do think that this is the moment where Lio Rush turns on Bobby Lashley. And, the two move on from here and whatever happens with them. They've teased a little bit of dissension in the ranks previously with Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley. Nothing's really come out of it, but I do think that that's what happens here. Finn Balor picks up the win, new Intercontinental Champion. Anyone else got anything on that one? Or do we just not care about this match?
You're right. The Demon should have been a way bigger deal, but hey, we've talked. Go back and listen to all of our previous episodes as I eat crow about how badly it's been booked.
Yeah, waste of a good demon.
Yeah, huge waste of a good demon. I'll agree with that statement for sure. Next up, The United States Championship is on the line when Samoa Joe defends against maybe Rey Mysterio. Not sure if he's going to be in the match anymore. So I'll ask you guys on this one, if Rey Mysterio is in, who's winning this match, and also your predictions of who might take his place. Fox, let's start with you.
All right, if Ray's in, he looked like he hurt his ankle or whatnot, it might be a big swerve, but I've got Samoa Joe no matter what. I think he's just in his title reign is in its infancy. I want to see Samoa Joe hold it for a while, really have a dominant run. That title has been hot-shotted so many times over the last couple months that it really needs a little bit of stability.
What about you, MMA?
I think they messed up with this match. I think it should have been a triple threat match with Andrade involved.
Yes!
I mean, there's no triple threat match outside of the women's main event. There's no other triple threat match. It would have been perfect. Like, they've been setting it up, not setting it up exactly, but, they've been all involved in the same matches for a while. Andrade deserves better than just being in the Andre thing. If I have to pick between Mysterio and Joe, sadly, I think they'll give it to Mysterio if he's not hurt or whatever, just to give him a WrestleMania moment and looks good with the title and everybody knows him and all that stuff. So I'll go with Rey.
I think that is a really good pick for Rey Mysterio if they're going to increase the relevance and have more notoriety to that. But I do still have Samoa Joe. I think it is his time to hold a championship for a longer period of time. He really hasn't held gold at all, and I think that it would be a mistake to take it off of him right away until he has a longer feud. So I'm calling for Joe, although if Rey can't go, maybe this is the time where Samoa Joe has his United States Championship Open Challenge is now open, and then we hear...
I mean, we've talked about that for weeks. I think that would make sense. The minute I saw like Rey hurt and whatnot, I was like, could they be doing this? Because I know we've all got our hopes and dreams pinned on Cena versus Kurt Angle, and the more that I see how much they love Baron Corbin, I'm just like, I don't think they're gonna do it. But that would be a good surprise, and Samoa Joe has referenced Cena multiple times in the last 5-6 weeks. So yeah, that would be awesome.
Next up, WWE Women's Tag Team Champions are on the line. The Boston Hug Connection, Sasha Banks and Bayley, are defending their championships against the Divas of Doom, which is Old Lady 1, Old Lady 2. Versus the Iconics.
Hey, put some respect on Beth Phoenix's name, okay?
Beth Phoenix is great. I love Beth Phoenix. She's actually a nice, sweet lady.
Come on, you're supposed to be calling this thing down the middle.
Against the Iconics, who are incredible, and Nia Jax and the other one, Fox. Who do you got in this match?
Jeez, just not even going to mention her by name. No, I've got the Boston Hug Connection. Like I said, these championships were won in the Elimination Chamber. It was a big deal. They don't want to be hot-shotting it. And more importantly, I still think that they're going to have that moment at the end of the show with the 4 horsewomen all with their titles. So that's the Sports Center photo. I think Sasha and Bayley take it.
Mr. Main Event?
Yeah, to me, anybody but Sasha and Bayley. I can't stand to see Sasha Banks on television anymore, so I'd actually prefer it if the Iconics win. They're my favorite of all the tag teams, but I'll take a Tamina title run if it means no Sasha Banks with a title.
Yikes.
Good God, man.
I got to agree with Fox on this one. The Boston Hug Connection, Bayley and Sasha Banks, it doesn't make sense to have this title already change hands. I think that having a long title run to establish these championships does make sense. If there was anybody else to win it, I would love it to be the Iconics. I think they've been so entertaining, so charismatic, and they are the quote-unquote mean girls of WWE, so to speak, and they can just be mean little bullies who are just whiny, and you simultaneously want to see them on and off your TV. I think they've been doing really great.
There's no chance that the Iconics win. I'll make a bet with you. I think their characters are fine, and they're still gonna get the same heat, and they don't need those titles.
No love for team old ladies. I'm surprised.
I'm anticipating some type of moment with Beth Phoenix. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but you have to have that nostalgia woman kind of moment.
I thought, well, look, all right, hold on. Like, there are a lot of people that are probably listening going, holy cow, where's the hate for Beth Phoenix? Dude, Beth Phoenix looked awesome on Raw, okay? It was one of the high points. I think they should have actually kept that barrier spot for WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it was blowing it too early, so to speak, on Raw, but I think that hopefully she has another spot where she puts Nia Jax through a table or something like that. I think that the inevitable face-off between the two.
They're going to show off her strength. Yeah, I agree.
So next up, we have the farewell retirement match. Kurt Angle's last match against the lackluster Baron Corbin. Fox, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I got Kurt. But goodness, I think my initial prediction is that he beats Corbin really quickly. Like, Corbin seemed to have a little bit of that, like an injury angle, especially with the ankle lock to end Raw. It would be really cool to see Kurt beat Corbin really quickly, and then lose to Cena, who comes out afterwards. I don't know. That's my fantasy booking moment. But I think that the crowd would pop really quickly if it was just like a quick 20-second match with Corbin.
Think great minds think alike on this one. Personally, I don't think the match ever starts with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. I think that I would love to see Baron Corbin taken out in the back or maybe tossed out from the ramp, so to speak, and he's beaten up. And even though I called for John Cena taking over if Rey Mysterio doesn't come in, I really think that this is the moment where they give the fans what they want for Kurt Angle, for the fans, and the match never starts. We see John Cena against Kurt Angle, and overall, I do have John Cena picking up the win in that one. What about you, MMA?
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had Corbin kind of being attacked backstage before any sort of match even started. Obviously, we all want to see Cena in this spot. I think it would be good. I also think Cena would go over on Angle. But I do think if for some godforsaken reason we get Angle versus Corbin, then give Angle the win, the happy farewell, and all that, the good stuff.
Are we underestimating how much they love Corbin? Because I feel like next week we're just gonna sit here really just upset and like, wow, they actually did Kurt versus Corbin, and they gave them 13 minutes of WrestleMania.
Yikes!
What, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that we're talking next week. Like, I mean, who'd have thought that they wouldn't have ended Raw with that police brawl, and they ended it with an empty ring and Kurt and Corbin. I won't get into it, but I'm just saying, like, as a betting man, I wouldn't have believed that they did that.
I mean, as fantasy bookers go here, and you can tell how disappointed we are in the actual match, that all three of us essentially called for the winner to be someone not even booked into this match. So I think that says a lot.
I mean, this is the go-home show to WrestleMania, and the crowd was just like, I think I'm going to leave. Like, I saw people leaving the arena at the end of Raw. It was like, it's not good heat, man. I will fight that tooth and nail. It's not good heat Corbin has. Next
up, AJ Styles, Randy Orton. We're getting into the meat of it here. We're getting into, to me, what is one of the best overall booked matches and feuds going in. This really started taking place before Fastlane, coming out of Elimination Chamber. Fox, you and I started talking about it right before Elimination Chamber. So, which is one of the reasons that they have to stop having this pay-per-view midway through so they can start building feuds for a longer period of time. Because if you take a look at the feud with AJ Styles and Randy Orton, it has really been built well. The heat that you can feel between these two, even down to the failing drug test line on SmackDown, I think was great. Personally, I have AJ Styles winning this match. He goes over. This is the house that AJ Styles built, and I think that Orton gives him the rub. Styles is put over. Styles is the face of that runs the place for quite a bit more time. I think he gets moved over to Raw after this is all said and done too. Mr. Main Event, what do you got?
This one was really tough. Like you said, the build-up has been great for this match. You wish that something was on the line. It's just a singles match basically, and it's interesting because nobody else is involved. There's no one that you can really think of that would be like, running in to help either guy. It's kind of an interesting
Diamond Dallas Page runs in.
Oh, God. So,
maybe some Dixie
just
Carter.
Cowboy Bob with his cast.
Dixie Carter would be great. I think that I think Randy Orton's going to win with the RKO. I think it's going to be a great match, and I had to pick someone, so I'm going with Randy Orton. Nothing against AJ Styles. I'm looking forward to this match a lot.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this match. It's like simple booking, right? It hasn't been convoluted. There hasn't been a lot of twists and turns. It's just one guy just talking trash to another guy, and two guys coming from different worlds. I've got Randy Orton going over. I would be ecstatic. I'm a huge AJ fan, so if Styles won, I would be really happy. But I actually think this is going to be a series. I think they're going to have a couple rematches down the line with a gimmick. So I've got Randy Orton, and my addendum is that I think it's going to be a 450 splash into an RKO.
Wow.
I actually would be extremely impressed if that were to be able to be pulled off. I know Randy Orton's been able to pull off the RKO out of pretty much anywhere and everywhere. That'd be a hell of a feat to pull off.
Yeah, I thought they gave us a little teaser on SmackDown where he went for the phenomenal elbow or forearm, into the RKO. I think they're gonna one up it at Mania.
Do we have show stealer all over this match? Do you guys think that this is the match that athletically and probably even emotionally steals the show here?
I don't think emotionally. I think there's just too many other matches like the Kofi match or whatever that's just going to be a lot more fans are invested in. But in terms of show stealer, I think that absolutely this is going to be like that sleeper match that like the Rollins RKO kind of match that's on the undercard. But if they get the time and they're allowed to get into fifth gear, yeah, this one's going to be awesome.
Yeah, they're not going to have to work too hard to get the crowd into this one. It's just great overall. It could definitely steal the show. I don't know about stealing the show, but it could definitely be up there as one of the top matches on the show for sure.
It could definitely start the show if you ask me. I think that if my pick doesn't start the show, that this could absolutely start the show and start it off hot.
Yeah.
Next match, we've got the newly coming back Roman Reigns taking on the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre. Fox, I know you got an interesting pick for this one. Take it away.
Yeah, I know it's probably going against the grain. I've got McIntyre winning. I know that he's been booked incredibly strong, going into this match. So, kind of common logic says that Roman Reigns obviously triumphantly returns. For me, I hope that they exercise a little bit of long-term storytelling and, have Reigns actually have to kind of climb back up the mountain, putting some obstacles in his way. I'd love to see Drew McIntyre win, just kind of showing that Roman isn't quite where he, was maybe in like the last year or two, and give him something to fight for. Unfortunately, I'm sure you guys will probably touch on this. I can see it going the other way where they're just like, oh, good, Roman's back. Let's put him back on top.
Well, and on Raw, they kind of tease the whole Roman might not be 100%, and I think that that's a great storyline to put out there. If Roman does lose, it doesn't make him look weak, and I think that that would be the reason that he would lose. I know, Fox, I mentioned earlier to you, earlier today, I'd love to see a Rocky-ish type ending, and I could see one of two things happening. Overall, I do think Roman Reigns is going to come out on top, but either A, kind of the Rocky Four, where he's getting beaten down the entire match until suddenly he starts coming back in true Roman Reigns fashion, and we see 18 Superman punches and 16 spears, and that finishes the match. But I would love to see a no decision to be able to have this match continue. I'd love to see the two just beating down on each other and having
Totally agree.
No man answers the count to the referee, and we just continue this match. What do you got, Mr. Main Event?
Yeah, just because it's WrestleMania, I think Roman's going to go over on this one. I think Drew McIntyre is going to have a huge rest of the year, and by next WrestleMania, we might see him fighting for one of the world championships. But they have all year to kind of set him up to continue being the monster that he is. Strictly because it's WrestleMania, I think they'll put Roman over.
A little bit of interesting here that we haven't really seen ever since their Last Man Standing match a mention at all of Dean Ambrose. Is he just done, or does he come back at some point, possibly during this match? What do you guys think?
I initially thought that I think it was the Last Man Standing match was unnecessary, because I think the Falls Count Anywhere match the week before was so brutal. It was so much better, and that was like the perfect way to.
I'll agree with that.
That was the perfect way to write off Ambrose, at least until WrestleMania. So I actually expected Ambrose to not show up until Mania, but since they've had him come back, and have that match again the following week, he could get involved, but the only reason that he would get involved is to even the odds, and I don't really see anybody coming to back up McIntyre.
Yeah, and I actually have Dean interfering in a different match on the card, so we'll get to that when we get to that.
Next match coming up, No Holds Barred, which I guess, I tweeted out earlier this week that I would have rather seen like a street fight or maybe an Extreme Rules match or, a no DQ match.
Wait, so what's the difference?
There is no difference.
Oh, I thought you were being serious. I was ready to be totally call you out on that.
They're all the same exact thing. But no holds barred.
Sarcasm doesn't translate over tweets.
If Triple H loses, he retires. We've got Dave Batista or Drax the Destroyer taking on the COO of the WWE, Triple H. Personally, I think that there's no other outcome than Triple H winning this match, whether it's for the love of Flair, and on top of that, I don't see any reason for Batista to win. I think that he is going to go away after this, so once he's gone, I think that Triple H is just going to still reign supreme, not to mention that he seems to put a lot of people over. I think it's his time to, pick up his burial shovel once again and go over. What do you think, Mr. Main Event?
Well, I don't really have any dog in the fight, I guess I should say. I stopped watching the WWE at a certain time, and that certain time, Batista was a monster, apparently. And, so to me, I don't really care either way, I should say. I like Batista. I think he'll go over clean just because they paid him to be here. And because the WWE doesn't make sense, Triple H will still end up wrestling in Saudi Arabia and probably at next year's Mania too, even though this is a retirement match.
Sounds about right. WWE logic calls for that. What do you got, Fox?
Yeah, I got Triple H going over. I think that I've expressed my displeasure with just how much of a story that they've told going into this match.
Or lack thereof.
Right, but I think to make up for it, I actually think that this match is going to tell a hell of a story in the ring. So call me an optimist, but I think that in this no-holds-barred match, it allows them to really revisit a lot of story points from their history. I think Triple H wins. I think Batista just wanted, the performer really just wanted one more match to go out on his terms. He's not looking to, get a win He wants to go out on his back to Triple H. That's been kind of publicly known. I'm excited to kind of see the end of it. I think that there's going to be probably a really cool moment, maybe like a moment of, momentary regret or something like that, and then Triple H finally is like, you know what, got to put him down, and hits him with the sledgehammer, and that's it. But I think they're going to do some pretty good storytelling in this match.
I mean, I would love to see a appearance by Ric Flair, even though he is the dirtiest player of the game, and any appearance by Ric Flair could probably go either way, going for Batista or going for Triple H. But I would love to see maybe Triple H, he's on his last leg, and then Batista goes and picks Flair out of the crowd or something and starts beating him down again, and it ends up with Triple H getting the sledgehammer, picking up the victory. Next match, we have the WWE Championship being defended. It's Kofi Mania, baby. Kofi Kingston taking on Daniel Bryan, the WWE Champion. I've personally got, because I think it just makes the most sense. I mean, it's even if he holds it for a day, we need to have that Daniel Bryan type moment, except not with Daniel Bryan, ironically, but with Kofi Kingston. What do you got, Fox? Who do you think?
Yeah, I've got Kofi. It would be so deflating. I mentioned that most people are more invested for this match than any other match on the card. And I think it would be an incredibly deflating moment, kind of a wet blanket in the middle of WrestleMania if Daniel Bryan was to win. And that's no hate against Daniel Bryan. He's done an incredible job as the villain in this story. But it would be a very Booker T WrestleMania 19 type of moment if Kofi went through all of this just for some dusty kind of finish.
What about you, Mr. Main Event?
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago or last week or whenever it was, I said that Kofi was going to lose, and the more and more I watched, the more and more I think I'm wrong. But I'm going to stick with it since it was already my pick. I think Kofi will lose, and maybe we'll see like a Xavier Woods heel turn. Maybe we'll see some sort of Kevin Owens interference, since there's no reason for him to be a face. He's a much better heel than a face, and costing Kofi the championship would definitely piss a lot of people off. I don't know. I'm just throwing darts here. I think Kofi's going to win, but I'm trying to stick with my with my pick over here.
It's honorable. I respect that.
And I appreciate that too. And honestly, I've been thinking, because I think that anytime you see a tag team, Fox, you touched on this a couple weeks ago, you hardly ever see the tag team sticking together and kind of supporting each other. And while I think it's great, I think that it's a ticking time bomb, and I would love to see a Xavier Woods heel turn.
No way. I do not want to see that. Do not want to see the New Day break up just because they're like, well, we don't have anything to do. So,
I mean, they've been together over 5 years. It doesn't
have to be that black and white. It doesn't have to be if one of the members is going on a singles run that the whole team has to implode.
I think it'd be cool to see either Big E or Xavier as a heel, but I think it would be better to see the New Day stay together for their entire careers. I think that would be
that's in the long term. Like it's like a shock value short term.
Yeah,
that's not worth it.
Yep.
You make a big statement there to see the New Day together for their entire careers. Right now, they've been together for about 5 years, which is an eternity for WWE to see tag teams together for that long. Personally, and while I love the New Day and everything they've done and respect them and love that they are the longest reigning tag team champions ever and they are the 5-time champs and you feel the power, I think overall it's a waste long term to not see Big E as a world champion. And out of the 3, Xavier Woods is low-key the best wrestler and has the best charisma out of all 3. And I think that he needs to have some type of singles run and at least be a mid-card title holder when it comes down and it's all said and done.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that Big E can't have a world title run. It doesn't mean that oh, well, you're not allowed to be with New Day in order to get... I mean, look at Kofi right now. Kofi is, going to be wrestling for the WWE Championship, and they've shown that they can do it with the stable intact. So like I said, they're not mutually exclusive unless I'm crazy here.
No, you're not. And you have guys like, in New Japan, like Kenny Omega with the Bucks and Bullet Club being able to be world champion. But that's with a whole faction. I mean, you have these three guys that kind of play off of each other. And while you're right, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. I just see it happening more on a separate level.
And I think it'd be a mistake.
Next up, the WWE Universal Championship match. We've got Brock Lesnar defending his championship against the Beast Slayer, Seth Rollins. Mr. Main Event, let's start with you. Who do you got?
Well, this is where I have my Dean Ambrose interference. I also picked Seth Rollins to lose this match a couple weeks ago. I think this is the one that sticks out as the most likely champion, not however you want to say it, not switching hands here. I think Dean interferes, which automatically creates a story right there in the ring. Brock can slip away, never to be seen again, at least for 3 months. And we can start something up again with Dean and Seth, because that's kind of how things were before with Dean and Seth, and whatever Dean was doing, burning something next to a Grand Am on Raw.
Burning it down.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just, they had a good thing going when it was the two of them going against each other. And I feel bad for Seth because I'd like to see him as a champion, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So you think that Dean leaving the WWE is a work?
Yeah, I do. I think with them continuing to talk about it, at least for the weeks that they did, they haven't obviously mentioned anything in a while. But yeah, I think it's a work. I think he comes back.
I have Brock Lesnar winning this match too. It never really occurred to me about Dean Ambrose leaving being a work. I think that is a shoot. I think that he is on his way out personally. But we talked about this, before and during your In the Mind of Mr. Main Event a couple weeks ago, that I do think that the least likely to win their championship match is Seth Rollins. Unfortunately, I do think that Brock Lesnar does continue to hold his Universal Championship.
So you think he goes, Brock wins it clean?
I do think Brock wins it clean. I know we started talking about this before we actually hopped on. The fact that Seth was so strong, quote unquote, coming out of Raw, not to mention, I'm not a big fan of somebody needing low blows to win, and they made it seem like Seth Rollins' only way to have that happen was to hit 2 low blows on Brock, and Brock still was able to kind of get up after that. But the big thing is Seth Rollins came off to me not strong on Raw, even though he ended up being the guy holding his head high. I do have Brock Lesnar going out no matter what.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I on a couple notes, I think Brock wins. This story has been kind of the one with the least amount of. It feels like the one with the least amount of heat to it. I think if you listen to the crowds, they are really hot for Seth Rollins, and that's just a testament to him as a performer. And Brock, whether you love him or hate him, and obviously the part-time schedule, he does make any match that he's in feel like a big-time fight. So there is that natural heat to the match, but I think Seth loses. And the optimist in me says that he wins it, down the line in a rematch or in a finishing out a series with Brock. The pessimist in me, and tell me if I'm off base here, is that Roman Reigns coming back was the worst thing for Seth Rollins' push.
Absolutely.
I feel like the pessimist in me, and I don't want it to be true, and I'm not trying to put this out there, is that, Seth might have originally been penciled in to dethrone Brock once Reigns was confirmed to be back and ready to go. it's like, nope, let's hold off on it until SummerSlam or later on in the spring, and we'll let Roman do it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
I would love to see, even though I do have Brock Lesnar winning on Sunday at WrestleMania, I think what needs to and what should happen is just freaking shake it up and have him lose it on Monday after WrestleMania. I know that Brock Lesnar doesn't wrestle for free, but he's been goated before. You have him on there, have him lose to, what I would love to see, a Drew McIntyre, and, start the new programs, and goodbye, Brock. Now you have Drew, who's a more believable heel who we're going to see every week, who can feud against a Roman Reigns and a Seth Rollins more believably long term.
Yeah, the Raw after Mania is basically a pay-per-view, so I think that, it's not like, oh, okay, well, Brock's on just any old Raw. It's the Raw after Mania. So it would be the first match that he actually wrestles on Raw. He doesn't wrestle. He just comes out and stands there. So...
Yeah, and it could also be another kind of redemption with Braun Strowman right after, since he's gotten the lack of push, going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'd like to see it be Seth, but yeah, shake it up. I agree. It's like MME said, it's kind of a new year, the day after WrestleMania. So let's do something interesting.
Mojo Rawley time, baby.
Oh, God.
Gronk run in, Nicholas low blow.
Jesus. The last match here, the first time ever that women are main eventing WrestleMania with the Raw and SmackDown and NXT and every other championship on the line. Winner take all. Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. I mean, let's talk about this. Fox, I'm going to get it over to you about the way that all this has gone down. I mean, yes, that segment on Raw, which I'll let you go into here, was incredible. Do your thing. Who's going to win?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, thank God you thought that it was a great segment, because it really was. There were a couple things that were laughable, like, the cops being stupid enough to put, Becky and Ronda in the same, back seat of the car together, but I thought it was an awesome segment. I thought it was one of the best brawls that we've seen in years. Really, really, made a lot of the convoluted booking going into the match look, kind of faded from memory, because that's what all I'm going to remember is just the three women hating each other. Why the hell was it not the closing segment of Raw?
I mean, It just made no sense. I honestly think that they had something else planned for the closing segment of Raw before Rey Mysterio got hurt. And I also know that the 9 o'clock hour is when they put in some of their best segments, 9 o'clock Central Time here, the 10 o'clock Eastern Time, because that's normally the time where people are watching the most before the last hour drop off. Whether it's because it's getting late or people are just sick of the last hour of Raw.
I mean, it made no sense, because the Corbin Angle Mysterio, that had two separate segments. It was so unnecessary, right? I thought when they came out initially, they should have just had the match there.
I agree.
Part of me thinks that they couldn't be dumb enough to say that match was more of a go home moment than that brawl. I mean, that brawl was, that's the way to go into Mania. So maybe they did have something else planned, and who knows, maybe Mysterio really did get hurt. I haven't read any news bits, but to me that really put a lot of sizzle on this main event match.
What do you got, Mr. Main Event?
Everything is set up for this to be a huge main event, the history behind it. I mean, the build-up has been great. It absolutely should have been last on Raw. No excuses. I don't care if Rey Mysterio's legs fell off. There's no reason for it not to be in that spot. To me, the only thing you can do is Becky Lynch winning clean. That's it. Anything else is a disappointment, and you're ending your biggest show on this disappointment.
Right, and it's the first women's main event. You really want it to be, the fireworks and confetti there at the end. I'm calling, and you know, again, Doug will have to take a shot or something as a bet, but I really do think there's going to be a spot where Ronda Rousey is in the disarm her and the figure 8 at the same time, and she taps, but because both of them have the hold on, the match continues.
Interesting.
I mean, that would be an incredible segment, maybe a way to not put both belts on one person, and just have Ronda be the loser, which would be kind of hilarious. I don't think that will happen overall just because of that. You know, going into this, and I'm still going to pick Becky Lynch as the winner because I think that that's what should happen. I don't like the visual of her holding up 2 belts to end the show. I think that it's different when Daniel Bryan did it because that was a unified belt, while they really haven't talked about what they're doing with this. With the 2 belts, is she going to be on Raw? Is she going to be on SmackDown? Is she going to be on both? Are they going to unify the titles? Are they going to have their own women's show with one title? I mean, we really don't know where that's going to go. So I'm not a fan of what they've done with this. I think that now that both belts are on the line and the way that they've done it, it makes Becky a little bit less likely to win. And I think that there is a slight chance, while it's very small, there's an outside chance that Charlotte is the one that picks up the victory here, because she's the one that has traditionally gotten these big moments in women's WWE history. I mean, she has been part of most of the big matches in WWE, including being the first ever WWE Women's Champion, again, the Women's Champion once they took away the Divas Championship. I could see a shocking ending to end WrestleMania. But, again, I'm going to go with a safe pick and say Becky Lynch takes it, double champion, and we'll see where the Monday after WrestleMania takes us.
Yeah, they've done a decent job of casting a little bit of doubt. Charlotte is like the heir apparent, right? And I think as long as I agree, it's to me the only correct answer is Becky Lynch winning clean, and I think shock value. I said it earlier, just a short-term shock value is just not worth it in the long run because this is a historic match.
So, any other things that you guys can see happening in this show that might be shocking? Twists, turns, returns, anything like that?
Well, there's definitely going to be some, I don't know, the John Cena's, we're throwing him into like 3 different segments here, so, you know, we definitely can't see him in terms of where he's going to be. He's going to, you know, one of those spots, either with Kurt or with Samoa Joe.
Save us, John Cena.
Yeah, who'd have thought, right? It's like, you know, when we're like, we don't want John Cena, they give us John Cena, and then when we're like, we want John Cena, they're like, nah, screw you, we're going to give you Corbin.
Mr. Main Event?
I mean, give me the new Andre the Giant Memorial winner, Heidenreich.
I would accept him over Mojo Rawley. I would very much enjoy that.
That's all I got.
I think the one thing I will say is, though, they've got a couple tentpole matches on this card that, depending on the decision that they make, I feel like we're going to have like kind of be holding our breaths to see what decision they make, because it could completely change the trajectory of the rest of the show. A couple decisions, if they decide to make the wrong decision, no matter how good the match is, I feel like a lot of what we're talking about is the outcome and not match quality. We think that there are definitely going to be some great match quality matches on there, but some of those outcomes are really going to determine how this thing goes down.
I think especially if Kofi loses his match, which to me is going to...
That's the one.
I mean, to me, that match is going to happen before the Universal Championship and before, obviously, the Women's Championships match. I think that if that does not go the way we all think it's going to go, because it was a clean sweep on our end for Kofi Kingston. Actually, no. Mr. Main Event, you had Daniel Bryan. Fox, you and I smartly picked Kofi Kingston. But...
Dang! Did you see that? Did you see that pot shot he
just
took?
put me back in my cage. I'll be back with 5 minutes next week.
Go back to your edited segments.
But I think that if that does go the way of Daniel Bryan winning that match, that everything else is up for grabs. I also would love to see returns of Sami Zayn and new proud baby daddy, almost baby daddy, Bray Wyatt.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've actually, Bray is somebody that I literally keep forgetting about him. I know he's kind of got a new look. I saw some photos of him, but we've mentioned KO a couple times. I think that Sami Zayn pick is just having them on the show would be great because KO's got nothing to do on this show, and I really, really hope he doesn't interfere in the Daniel Bryan Kofi match.
Yeah, and Mustafa Ali also nothing in this show, which is, I mean, that's two people who were in the WWE Championship match at Fastlane that are not even booked for the show. So, on that somber note, we're gonna let you guys tell us.
Hey, it's Mania week. It's Mania week. There's nothing somber about it. Get your wrestling fix.
There's a lot of wrestling to go around this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We've got NXT Takeover. We've got the G1 Supercard on Saturday. Not to mention the WWE Hall of Fame, and of course WrestleMania. Make sure that you guys tune in to our post WrestleMania show that will be happening right after WrestleMania. If the post portion didn't give it away, we're going to be on that. And then we'll be on with our regular time next week. One special shout out, by the way, to a lovely lady, Fox's wife, Pari.
Happy birthday
to Pari.
Yeah. She was like, "Are you recording today on my birthday?" I was like, "I love wrestling. I'm sorry, it's WrestleMania week." So I'll be making it up for WrestleMania. Don't worry.
I appreciate you guys hopping on this evening. We will talk soon, and we will see who is whimpering and crying about their picks next week.
Dude, I hope it's a great WrestleMania, though. I mean, we all have our little complaints here and there, but hey, this is why we're wrestling fans, right? This is our Super Bowl.
Mr. Main Event, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at NoBigWeevils. That's NoBigWeevils.
And Fox?
Follow me at Fox Narayan, FoxNarayan, and on Instagram, Mr. Quick Brown Fox.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will see you guys next week.
All right. See ya.
And now, another exclusive interview on STF Underground.
All right, at this time, I'd like to welcome to the show a man who's going to be dropping a brand new single on April 8th called Barely Livin'. He is hot fire, Myron Reed. Myron, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, dude? Thanks for having me on here.
Hey, I appreciate you hopping on. I've been hyping you up over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you heard Mike Pekovich from AEW said if you don't know who Myron Reed is in 2019, you're probably not watching wrestling.
Yeah, man. That stuff like that means a lot to me. I'm just trying to be the best I can be.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job. I know you've been impressing me. I always tend to, when I'm in the crowd, always yell out, Myron, it's your time. Ever since you got me hooked, ever since that match with Michael Elgin, I think it was almost 2 years ago now for AEW here in Chicago, and ever since then, I've been a huge fan.
Man, that's still that match still is in my top 3 at AEW for sure. Like it just, I feel like I've gotten better as a wrestler since then, but I also feel like that match is what like made that connection with me in the AEW crowd. So
for sure, I agree. Well, we'll get back to AEW stuff because for people that might not know you, you're one of the bigger, especially local wrestlers around here that have been in all over Chicago. We've seen you in Glory Pro. We've seen you. You're heavily featured in MLW, Major League Wrestling. So, but before we get to all of that, let's talk about how you got started, man. So, what kind of got you started in the whole business? Where did you train and all that stuff?
So when I was like 14 or 15, me and some buddies, we wrestled on the trampoline and we recorded it and put it on YouTube as a joke and fun at first. And then we saw other people doing it and we were like, fuck that, we're better than them, blah, blah, blah. We were so much better, even though we didn't know shit. Like, it was just, we were so much better. So, yeah, from there, we just did that for a year until I turned 18. And then I was just looking online. I didn't know who to hit up or where to look. So I looked on Google and wrestling schools. And there was one that came up, and I asked them how much, and they were like, free. I was like, I'm in there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'd say so. You're in Kentucky, right?
yeah, Louisville.
So who were you trained by out there?
So I don't like I started at WWA, World Wrestling Alliance. That's in like Central City, Kentucky. And then like a month or two later, because there I had to travel like 2 hours, and I was only getting trained like once a month. So I moved to OVW. I trained at OVW after that, and stayed there for months. And then that's from there, like, met up with Elgin, and then went and trained with Sammy, Dave, and Jake, and all them. So
Yeah, and you've constantly been called, from a lot of the people that know you in the Chicagoland area, that you're one of Elgin's kids. And I know in AAW it's pretty much heavily Elgin's kids or Sammy Callahan's kids. And you've been lighting it up with Jake and all those guys too. Out there, you said you started when you were 14, 15. What kind of people did you have as inspirations growing up watching?
I always was a Rock fan. Growing up, I was like, my grandma's like favorite wrestler, and so as a kid, seeing your grandma root for The Rock, and I'm like, okay. Eventually, I'm like, okay, I like The Rock. So
Who
as a
doesn't like
kid,
The Rock?
I thought The Rock was awesome. He was super charismatic, and every time he watched a promo, even when I was like 2 and 3, it always kept me hooked.
Do you still keep up with the product today?
Not as much. No, I'm busy, so like the most stuff I see is on the internet, like high spots and stuff like that.
Sure. Well, obviously we're coming up to WrestleMania this coming weekend. Are you planning on sitting down and watching it? Do you know any of the matches that are going on?
I do plan on watching it, but not live, because I'll probably be on my way home.
Fair enough. So last week on our last episode, we had Trey Miguel, we had Desmond Xavier, and Zachary Wentz. They're known as the Rascals, but it's been widely said by them that you are the unofficial fourth member of the Rascals.
Yeah, them are like real life brothers to me. Like, they've helped me grow as like a man and a wrestler. They made me better. So when I was there, of course, I was a younger one, just trying to catch up with them, keep up with them. So it made me better.
Yeah, and I mean, those guys, great guys. I got a chance to connect with them a couple times now, and they have a lot of praise for you too, especially with some of the things that you're doing in the ring. One thing that I did see that happened in the ring, and I saw it live, unfortunately, at MLW, I saw that you were fined $3,000 for striking a referee. What happened there, man? What happened at MLW?
Man, just when I started to come up, starting to get my money right, they hit me with a blow like that. Like, soon as, I'm doing good for myself. I'm trying to keep my head above water, and they hit me with the fines. Just because the officials there, they're trash, dog. Like, they're biased. Like, I feel like they don't care about if your name's not Teddy Hart or Brian Pillman or L.A. Park. They don't care about you. And they're not worried about what you're doing. You're just another wrestler to them.
In a lot of places, like AEW or Glory Pro, you've consistently been, this babyface character, this good guy to the crowd that the fan loves cheering for. It's been a little bit different at MLW. We've seen a little bit more of a mean streak there. Is that something that you like bringing out a little bit more, or do you like being more of that, white meat babyface, so to speak?
Well, to me, I feel like I can do either. I'm happy with either. But I would have fun doing both. The only issue, is especially was transitioning for me when I first started doing it. Getting comfortable because I've gotten very, very comfortable being a baby. So it was a challenge, but I'm facing it head on. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to tap into my actual self. I feel like this is more of me I'm not mean, I promise. But I try not to be.
Well, I can say for myself, it was a little weird in my first MLW show. I'm ready to cheer you and everything, and then suddenly the crowd's booing you. I'm like, man, Myron Reed, bad guy, weird.
Hey, it was like that for me too. Like it was like my second or third time, like in a long time. When I first started, I was doing it, being a heel, but I went like 2 years without doing it, and then like it's just I've been so accustomed to being the good guy.
So talking about your progression, and let's talk about where you want to grow to. I know that you've spent obviously several years training. We've seen you in a couple different places. What kind of aspirations do you have moving forward? Do you see yourself being in some of the bigger stages like AEW or WWE or any of these other places as well?
Well, I mean, I feel like those are definitely goals you want to accomplish. But for me right now, I'm just trying to. I'm very young, and if the opportunity comes, then it comes, and I'm ready. But I'm trying to just learn and make myself better, so when the time does come, or if it does come, that I'm more than ready for the opportunity.
Fantastic. Myron Reed dropping his first single coming up here on April 8th, Barely Living. Myron, let's jump to talking a little bit about that. Now, when I saw you talking about this on social media, we're friends on Facebook. I saw it on there, and I had to send you a message right away. I was like, man, what's going on with this? What made you want to start rapping?
Man, I feel like I'm a cool cat in my town. So like I got the resources. I got the resources, and I feel like I just want to express sometimes what I can't express through wrestling, like through talking, like so. I felt like I wanted to take advantage of my resources and do something else that also makes me happy. Because I feel like you got to have other passions and hobbies, to not kind of get burnt out of what you're doing, because it's a lot of wrestling. Like I'm wrestling 3, 4, 5 times a week. Like that can get draining sometimes. Like you're just like, all right, I want to go home. I don't want to wrestle today. I've wrestled 3 days straight. My body hurts. Like So.
Yeah, and be able
Everybody.
to have that a creative mind flowing, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah. Because like I also edit videos, so like I'm like always thinking. Like my mind is like always going constantly. Ideas and just what I should do here and how I do this and what I'm going to do here. It's just I overload myself sometimes.
Well, obviously we know that you're overloaded too with being a new baby daddy. You want to give a shout out, your first shout out here in an interview to the new kid?
Oh hell yeah! Shout out Milo, I love you. That's my dog. He's growing up so fast, man. He's only 2 months, but I feel like he's like 6, just because especially waking up at 2 to 3 hours. I thought that I barely got any sleep doing wrestling, but no, this is a different level of tired.
Yeah, I know when I saw you at AAW, you were a zombie. I felt a little
Oh
bad
my
for you.
god.
So let's talk a little bit more about Barely Living here. Again, April 8th coming up, world premiere. We talked about some of your wrestling inspirations as far as, The Rock being a big inspiration for you. What about in the rap game? Who was an inspiration for you, or maybe some artists that you grew up listening to?
One of my inspirations now, I feel I got a lot of people that I look up to because I look up to people who just are doing good and want to be positive and want positive energy and stuff like that around them. I don't like any negativity. I try to uh, walk away from that, like, or eliminate myself from that situation. So if it's ever a negative situation, I try to stay away from it. I want to just be on the positive side of things. But as far as like idols go, like I love music. I love a lot of people's music. I listen to everyone. I don't judge. I like all kinds of music. It's not just rap. It's rap. I love rap. I love pop. Like um, everything. Uh,
Okay.
but I'd have to say one of my biggest inspirations was XXX Tentacion. I just feel like everybody has their past, and he was making great music, trying to better his life, and that's what I want to do. I want to do great with the field I'm in, and be the positive role model I can be.
So, once you start getting into, Barely Living in future songs, or is there going to be a little bit of wrestling theme infused at all?
Dude, you stole the words out of my mouth. Like that's what I'm getting to eventually. I just gotta. Well, I'll know it when I make it.
Yeah,
like I'll
yeah,
know
definitely.
what I feel when I make it. So.
All right, you ready to give people an exclusive sneak peek into your brand new song here?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, everybody, this is Myron Reed, sneak preview with Barely Living.
Crazy thoughts up in my head, I can shake the feeling. Living life with no regrets, I'm just barely living it up. Crazy thoughts up in my head, I can shake the feeling. Living life with no regrets, I'm just barely living. I'm just barely living, I'm just barely living. Living life with no regrets, I'm just barely living. I'm just barely living, I'm just barely living. Living life with no regrets, I'm just barely living. I'm living life with no regrets, I guess I'm barely living. No room for these women, ain't no time for chilling. Been plotting and planning on getting millions. Soon time for us gonna take the city. The name's gonna be on the buildings. Mamas and little children gonna see what the ganja been building. We just been killing these niggas, hitting them flips on them niggas. Been kick them flex on these niggas. All across the map on these niggas. Under the radar we peeping. I'm getting a feeling. Them thoughts are coming, wait a minute. I'm peeping what's missing. Then common sense in most civilians. But fucking my nigga, cause I've been taking care of business. And it's all my digits, I couldn't believe it. I kinda figured.
Wow, man. I think that, when I listened to that, and I got a sneak preview from you before, and listening to here again, the beat, for one, is freaking awesome. But the other thing, too, that I noticed, and one of the first things that I noticed, because I'm huge into old school hip hop and rap, is I noticed a little bit of, like, Bone Thugs kind of influence, plus a little bit of new school. It kind of infused both for me. I really like that.
I appreciate it. Like I'm just trying to do something different. Everything I do, I try to do differently. Of course, as being a wrestler, like we do a lot of the same moves, but I try to just make it look like my own thing, and that goes for like when I rap. I want to kind of like be different than whatever I hear like now from everybody that raps. So trying to sound a little bit.
So, we got Barely Living, which we just heard here. Is there more on the horizon for you?
Man, this is just baby step one. It's just baby step one. I got a lot coming, and I'm planning for you guys to hear. And I'm not slacking or like just being lazy with the music. It's like some dope stuff you guys gonna like. So.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. I know you're busy, obviously, wrestling all the time. Is this potentially going to lead to an album coming out with Barely Living and some of the other things you got going on?
Yeah, heck yeah. I just want to be like, I want to say I did something that a lot of people haven't done. Like, I want to not only be good at wrestling, I want to be good at everything. I guess I'm selfish, I try to be good at any and everything I can be good at. I don't like being bad at stuff. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, Barely Living, you guys just heard it. Myron, remind us when it's coming out officially.
April 8th. I think I'm going to drop it at midnight.
Oh, midnight, April 8th. Awesome.
Yeah. And my goal for this one is going to be, normal SoundCloud or whatever, but everything else will be on iTunes. I've already got that set up. Like, we lit out here. So.
And I'm sure that you're going to be dropping links all over the place on your social media. Yes. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. I need everybody to share it, run it up.
Yeah, make sure you guys share that song. It's going to be a big deal. Where can people find you on those while we're talking about that? Where can people find your social medias?
You can find me on Facebook as my name, Myron Reed. You can find me on Twitter, The Bad Reed. The reason why it's The Bad Reed is my backyard wrestling name. I made that Twitter a long time ago. I didn't make a new one. I just decided to keep it. And Instagram, it's Reed's World. And then, everything else, YouTube, all that stuff, Myron Reed, you can find me.
Awesome. Myron, where are you going to be coming up here? Where can people see you? I know we've got AAW coming up on April 12th. I know you're featured there. Where else are people going to see you in the next couple months?
Man, you can see me at CZW, Best of the Best, the day after AAW, and AAW, of course. All the AAW shows. That's home. Chicago is home for me. It's my second home. I'd have to. I don't know. I'm so excited. I have so much stuff coming up. Like I gotta look. I gotta see what I actually have coming up. Of course, MLW. A lot of MLW. Some unsanctioned. Innovate, some stuff out in California, Glory Pro, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you, and I'll see you here in about a week and a half or so. I can't wait to hear the rest of Barely Living. And yeah, man, we're gonna share it. We're gonna get it all over the place and make this thing a big deal, man.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man. We're gonna run it up.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Myron Reed, the unofficial Fourth Rascal. Again, make sure you guys tune in midnight, April 8th, Barely Living. Make sure you guys check him out on social media. And this guy's going to be a huge deal. So make sure you guys keep your eyes on him.
Thank you.
Once again, want to thank Myron Reed for being on this week's episode. Make sure that you guys tune in midnight, April 8th for his single Barely Living. We're going to promote it all over the place on RNL over our social media so you guys will be able to see it. Otherwise, it'll be on iTunes as well. Once again, I am Dougie Wrestling. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Dougie Wrestling. Make sure that you guys tune in on Sunday for our post-WrestleMania show. We're going to be having live reactions to not only WrestleMania, but NXT TakeOver and probably the G1 Supercard as well. And then we'll be back next week, of course, for our normal show. We're going to have on, once again, Mike Petkovich, AAW promoter, to talk about Epic, AAW's 15th anniversary event. Make sure you guys tune in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to STF Underground. Like what you heard? New episodes drop every week. If you want more content, follow us on Facebook at STF Underground Podcast or on Twitter and Instagram at STF Underground.